Hello, everyone. My name is Kara Kruger, and I'm here with my colleague Yvette Goodeel, and we're environmental horticulture extension agents with the University of Florida. I'm in Palm Beach County, and she's in Martin County, and we're excited to be here to share the work that we're doing in South Florida to address climate change. We're a group of University of Florida professors, researchers, and extension agents working with our stakeholders to build a program for horticulture professionals on climate-smart landscaping practices in Florida. So why is this important? Climate is made up of prevailing weather conditions in a general area over a long period of time. But we're experiencing, I know here in South Florida, warmer summers, more humid summers, more intense storms, higher winds, and more rain. And so adapting our landscapes for these hurricanes and anticipated wind events matters more than ever because of climate change. This is a CNN article from February 2023 that mentions all that intensity with the added issue of storms reaching new places. So it's not just South Florida that's experiencing this climate change. Storms like Lee this past summer hit New England and Canada, and that's happening with more frequency. And it doesn't just stop with the physical devastation, the flooding or the wind damage. It also ends up causing a lot of financial strain on residents with increased property reinsurance rates across the state. It's also not just the big storms that are causing issues. It's those typical rain events that we experience all summer long here in South Florida, and they're no longer typical. So the picture on the left is really what happens now during high tide, when high tides meet king tides. And the picture on the right is from a rain event several months ago in Fort Lauderdale that caused extreme flooding throughout streets and even closed the airport. So starting to narrow our scope a little bit, climate change means hotter summers. And being that we're dealing with horticulture and landscape and agriculture, those hot summers cause issues for our landscape workers, our agricultural workers. And here's a chart from Florida State University's Climate Center that shows August having 5 major cities with new record hottest months ever recorded at those stations. So Pensacola being at the top had a 5-degree above normal temperature average for the month of August. Which is really a health and safety issue for those agriculture landscape workers. So folks that are outside are going to have to take more breaks and really watch what they're doing because it's very dangerous. And then here's some more pictures of how storm causing damage to our commercial landscape and nursery growers and their operations. So we have downed plants, downed trees, flooding, collapsed shade houses, which all result in cost. It's financial burden then on those growers and landscapers. So all this brings us to what we're working to put together, this climate smart landscaping program, but only if this is something that is really needed and there's an interest in the green industry for it. So like you, many other green industry professionals are seeing changes in the weather and they're interested in learning more. So we did conduct a needs assessment survey to find out what the industry professionals want to know. And we learned their attitudes, perceptions, the beliefs on climate change, as well as desire for marketing to customers and education on the subject. So in the summer of 2022, we launched the needs assessment, which resulted in 324 respondents to determine how the industry professionals perceive climate change. So now I'm going to hand it off to Yvette, and she's going to dive into those numbers and those results, and then how we're really building out this program.
Thank you, Kara. Yes, so you can see here this table that Kara is showing. Who were the people that responded to our survey? Well, they represented a range of different occupations within the green industry. As you can see, almost a third of them were arborists, worked in tree service. We also had landscape maintenance professionals, pesticide and fertilizer applicators, urban foresters, nurseries, and landscape architects, and many others. And we also asked them how many years they had been in the industry, and about 85% of them had been in the industry for more than 10 years. So these were mostly established professionals. And who responded? So we did have responses from about half of the counties, the 67 counties in Florida. But the majority of our respondents, about 40% of our respondents were from Broward and Miami-Dade counties, which are two very large counties in South Florida. And a couple of those photos that Kara shared were taken in those counties. They are experiencing many of these events, such as the regular flooding from the king tides and the storms, and saltwater intrusion as well. So go ahead, please. So we wanted to ask them first, what are their beliefs around climate change? You know, there's science, and then we have our beliefs around things. And so we wanted to get at, well, where are they? Where is this population that we're serving in terms of their beliefs around climate change? So 83% of the respondents say they do believe that climate change is happening. Now, do they believe that it's mostly caused by human activities? More than half do. About 60% said they believe climate change is mostly caused by human activities. Almost a quarter of them said they believe that it's mostly caused by natural changes, though. Whether they believe that or not, 67% believe that climate change is relevant to their current and future business, and another 16% said it could become relevant to them in the future. And more than half said that they believe the green industry should do more to address climate change. Go ahead. So overall, though they may not agree on what is causing climate change, the vast majority of the professionals we surveyed agreed that it's real and that it's something that's relevant to their work. Go ahead, please. And so we wanted to find out, well, specifically, kind of what are your concerns around climate change? What are some actions that you might have already taken or be considering? So as far as their concerns, 70% said they somewhat or strongly agree that they're concerned about climate change in general. And then, as Kara mentioned, they had a concern about the potential for heat-related illness among people in their industry. Again, most of them are outdoor workers, and faced with increasing temperatures, that's going to be an increasing risk factor. And the industry people we surveyed did see that as a risk factor that was concerning to them with climate change. More than half of them also said they already do consider the emissions of the equipment that they use for work. So that was interesting to see. Now, are they taking steps to choose electric equipment or choose equipment that uses less emissions? That we did not ask, but it is already something that's in their mind. What are the emissions that are being generated by the equipment I use? And 82% of them agreed that gas-powered equipment does contribute to greenhouse gas production. So they are aware that the equipment they're using and the transportation that they're using to get to the different sites they're working is contributing to greenhouse gas production. 66% said they do expect that climate change is going to be causing more extreme weather events in their region. Some of those things that Kara mentioned, I know at a presentation a couple of us did, we heard from them that they are already seeing those effects, and they are concerned about it. And 67% said part of their role at work should be to prepare landscapes for the effects. Go ahead, please. So they're seeing the effects and ways that they can help to address the impacts. Go ahead. But what are the obstacles? We wanted to find that out. And the biggest obstacles they brought up were the costs of, these new electric mowers and things like that. What are those things going to cost them? And they, more than a quarter said there's a lack of client interest and demand. They also brought up a lack of knowledge about what are the climate-friendly practices we could adopt. But only 10% said it wasn't a priority at all. Now you can imagine that if there's not a demand and there's a high cost with you're not sure if you're going to get a return on that, that's going to lower it as a priority for more of them. But in general, they felt this was something that they wanted to address, and they were looking at. So we wanted to look at ways that we could help them overcome these obstacles. Go ahead, please. And we asked them specifically what kinds of information they needed. And you can see the number of respondents out of the 324. So about half of the respondents said they needed things like maps showing where the increased flooding is going to be, maps showing changes in temperature and precipitation rates. They needed information on what are the practices that they can implement to respond to climate change. And they wanted us to reach out to their clients to raise awareness among them. Go ahead. So go ahead, please. All right, so, okay, they need information. Where are they getting information from currently? Well, 12% are getting it from Extension. So we are one of many sources that they turn to. And we partner a lot of times with these other universities, other government agencies. We post things on social media. Some of us write for newspapers and magazines. So we can be a direct source, and we can also contribute and share information through some of these other sources as well. Go ahead. And what would their motivations be? If we're putting this information out there, what's going to motivate them to use it and participate with that information? They did say, more than half said that it would be a business advantage for them to market themselves as climate friendly, to have a climate friendly certification of some sort. And they said they would participate in those kinds of classes, even if it's not going to help them get CEUs for their required licensing. So this is something they see that can set them apart from the competition.